Hi everyone, I am Sarah.
And I'm Todd.
And we want to say a big thanks to Rochelle and Tony for asking us to share a little bit about our story, about how God has rescued us. And tonight we're going to be talking to you about how He actually rescued us through infertility and the way that we were able to actually have now our 3 beautiful children. And how we had no idea how this was all going to take place, how long it was going to take, and how He stood by us and was with us throughout the entire process. So in 2007, Todd and I got married in November, and we actually, when we got married, Todd was actually already talking about having children and, going ahead and having babies and what do you think about that? And he wasn't really talking about it like constantly, but when he would, I would just think, oh my gosh, no, we do not need kids right now. We're in our early 20s. And on our honeymoon, I think it was, we started talking about buying a dog. And me not being a dog person, obviously, my biological clock just started ticking, and we picked up our dog the night we got back from our honeymoon, and from then on we just kind of started, it just started paving that way. Mother's Day in 2008, we went to church, and during the church service they actually did a dedication, and of course everybody, all these wonderful beautiful families are up on the stage, and they are dedicating their beautiful babies, and something inside of me just said, okay, now's the time. You guys need to start thinking about this for whatever reason. And I looked at Todd and I said, okay, let's do this. So within a couple of months, we had cleared out the birth control and started the process and started really thinking about it. And I think it was funny because we thought it would happen immediately, and we pretty much had it laid out. I was already thinking about how we were going to tell our families, and we did everything but start to buy a crib.
Yeah.
And we were just excited, like a lot of newlyweds are that are wanting to start their family. And Todd, being the ever so patient one and ever so calm one, never really said a whole lot about it early on, and would wait for me to tell him, if we were pregnant or not. And I don't even know, was it on your mind constantly? Was it?
Oh yeah, I mean it's not something that men usually want to discuss, but yeah, I mean when you're trying and you try and you try and you try and you keep getting negatives, and it weighs on you, and it obviously we went, as we'll get into it, we went years of this every month, and it weighs on the husband more than I guess some people would think.
So of course, when I went for a checkup, I started talking to the doctor about it, and at that time it had only been about, I think it had been less than a year at that point. And so the doctor just said, it's up to you, if you want to start to look at some testing that we can do, and it's up to you, but because I'm feeling like, okay, this should have happened already, it's almost been a year, what's taking so long? And I think it was right about then that I started to undergo some testing, and rolling around getting into the the second year of it. Then talked Todd into doing some testing, and
sure,
it's so, just the doctors and the tests that you have to do, and the humiliating process, because it really was humiliation, I do believe. It felt that way at the beginning, but you knew you had to do it, and you knew you had to get answers and all of those things. And so Todd never said no to some of the crazy things that I had to come home and say, okay, this is what the doctor's saying now. So we went through that, and quickly found out that it was a huge part of both of us, and that there were some medical issues that were happening. And so I started down the process of some things that hopefully that could fix it, and it wasn't doing anything. Nothing was working, and so it became a big issue. The the impatience inside of me, that, you do something, you get an answer, it should be fixed, let's move on. And none of that was working, none of that was happening. And so right about that time in year 2 is when it really started to take an emotional toll on me. And so obviously when one person in a marriage is, having a lot of emotional difficulty, it starts to affect the marriage. And so not that we were having huge marital problems or anything like that, but it affected us. And I know that it affected Todd to sit there and watch me cry after coming home from a baby shower, or a friend would call and they would want to be excited about being pregnant, but they wanted to call and tell me first before they posted on Facebook. And just all those hard days that it was just tough. You forget. Thankfully I've forgotten, but it was really hard. I think the hardest thing through that is that nobody knows how you feel about it, and nobody knows how hard that it is, that you desire and you yearn so much for something that you're just not getting. And so I then started working in 2009 for an organization that actually helps abused children. And so one of the things looking back now that I'm thankful for is that we didn't have children because I couldn't have done that job having children. When you are constantly encountering children who are sexually abused, and you're constantly working with parents who are having to go through that process, whether it be the court process, the therapy process, what it might be, or even dealing with the parents, unfortunately, the caregivers, not always parents, that kept putting the children in harm's way. That was very, very difficult time, and it was really hard to see these people coming in, especially the ones that weren't taking good care of their kids and their family members, and you think, you don't deserve a baby. We deserve this baby. And again, coming home to Todd and just in tears and tears. And so finally, a very good friend of mine suggested that I go and talk to a therapist. And so I did. And through the conversations in therapy and all of that, and I think you got some things out of the therapy as well when I would come home and try to try to share some things that I was learning. And I had a very good friend, that same friend that suggested that was a licensed psychologist, and she had given me enough therapy as she could as a friend, and so knew that I needed a little bit extra help. And one of the questions that really got with me as we were talking one day is she said, we had talked about in vitro, and I said, it's just not an option for us. And she said, well, why is it not an option? And I said, it costs too much money. We don't have $20,000 just laying around. And she said, do you not feel like it's an investment in your future, your husband, and you want children, right? I said, yes. And she said, well, if it's the only way, and of course at that time we didn't know if it was the only way or not, but if it was the only way you could have children, why would you not want to invest in your future? And I really mulled over it. And so what I did do is I did go and talk to a fertility doctor, because I wanted them to give me, what's my percentage of this ever happening? And I think at that point we were in, I don't know, probably year 3.5 of trying. And at that point we had really had exhausted every local option, if you will, of things that we could do. And we were at a wall. We tried to hit that wall, and there was nowhere else to turn. And so I think that's when I really hit the low point, personally. And again, our marriage was suffering. Looking back at it now, it was definitely suffering. I'm not saying we were on verge of divorce or anything like that, but we were. I know I was constantly taking everything, into this, and every single day it consumed me. It became 100% about me, and about the fact that I can't get pregnant, and the fact that we don't deserve this. And it was just a very selfish time for me. think that's what made it even harder. And because you're constantly being in your mid to late 20s, you're constantly dealing with people who are getting pregnant, and they're living their life, and it was hard to be excited for them. It was hard to look at a cute baby in a restaurant. I mean, it was just ridiculous of how it just took over my life, and then kind of both of our lives and our entire marriage. But I did. I ended up going to that fertility doctor and doing some more testing. And he came back and I said, I want to know my percentage. I can't afford IVF. I don't want to go through all the other processes. I know with the medical problems that I have, none of them matter. But I want you to tell me what my percentage is. And he looked at me and he said, you're 0 to 1% of ever getting pregnant on your own. And that was actually right during the time that Dylan and Jennifer, Jen was in the hospital, at the same hospital that I was going to fertility. She was there on bed rest with Conley, who didn't make it. And I would go visit her sitting in there, in the hospital bed. And, here I am. Didn't matter how much I wanted it, how much I prayed, how much I trusted God. It wasn't going to happen. And here she was fighting for her baby's life. And it's just so overwhelming at the time, thinking about all the things that we rely on God for and then we need God for, and it was such a strange perspective, because I would leave my doctor's appointment and I would go sit next to her hospital, at her hospital bed, and she was a huge inspiration to me, because she was so she was just there. She was at God's word. She completely dove in, and it was just I think it was a really special time. And I know that that's how she got through losing Conley. And then we had to undergo that funeral, and it was hard. It really, really was. But once we got through, that point is when we got serious. And I actually found a book. I don't even know who suggested it to me. I found a book. It was called An Infertility Companion. And I read that book. It was amazing. And once I got to the end of it, I come to grips with it. I had accepted it. I think through that, God was able to use me to kind of, get Todd to a certain point as well, of acceptance. And I think you even said the other day when we were talking about this, that you knew it was either we would or we wouldn't. Like it wasn't you kind of let that go at some point, right?
Oh yeah, I mean you go down this long, windy road for so long, eventually you get to this point, and we talked about it a bunch back then, was that if this is going to happen, then God's going to allow it to happen. I mean, it's no matter who we go through or what we do, or and I found a lot of peace in that. That you didn't. It wasn't our decision. You could do all the testing and all the things you wanted to do in the world, and then at the end of the day, I mean, it's his decision.
Yeah. Which was also the hard part.
Yeah.
Because why? The big question of why. But we did. We decided we were going to undergo the IVF treatment, which really in fertility world was the most expensive route to take, but it was the only one that would have been beneficial for the doctors. And so we decided that we would undergo that, and actually made the decision that we would do it once, only once, and that if it did not work, that we were going to go on the most expensive vacation, and we were going to do something that people with children could not do. And it was kind of my closure to the whole thing, to say we're going to spend a bunch of money on this, and if it works, then great. Then we're going to be broke the rest of our lives raising, a baby, or we're going to go on a great vacation, because God is giving us that opportunity to mend the last 5 years together and to kind of get some of that back that I think we definitely lost through the first 5 years of our marriage. And so that's kind of where we got to. And I went into the IVF process with that clear mind, and with that, knowing that you can talk science all day. You can talk to any doctor with multiple PhDs. It doesn't matter. The process of pregnancy and getting pregnant is so 100% God's will. No matter what happens and how it happens, it's God, because we really struggled with, are we trying to play God here? Are we stepping out of our bounds? Are we doing something that is not God's will? Are we trying something and He's telling us we shouldn't be doing this? And I think that we both struggle with that for quite some time, until we went through the process. We got 2 embryos and decided to transfer one and save the other for a later day, and it worked, and I got pregnant. And right then, the test was positive that I got pregnant. That's when the confirmation was, this isn't about you. This isn't about your timing. This is God, and this is what God wants, no matter what doctor's involved. And it was amazing, and it really was. So we got pregnant, had a very healthy pregnancy, very healthy baby. He's 6 years old, a crazy, rambunctious 6-year-old today. And then, so in the process of trying to talk about embryo number 2, so we felt that it was very, very important and moral, it was a moral decision for us to keep the second embryo and to try to use it at a later day. We didn't want to use them both at the same time, because that could increase your chances of twins, and it just wasn't recommended. So we decided to save it, and hey, we could actually have a second baby, although we were good. We had Nelson, and we were good. I prayed and prayed and prayed not to get that desire again to have another baby, that we would try to transfer the embryo one day, but that I would never be heartbroken over this again. And God answered that prayer. God answered that prayer times a million for the both of us, that we were both completely fulfilled, if you will. And then in the process, a couple years down the road of trying to have the second embryo, I'm in my 30s, we need to talk about this. Because the doctor asked, do you want to go on birth control? I said, no, I can't get pregnant on my own. And I could. I laughed. Like, I literally just laughed whenever I found out I was pregnant. And Todd stayed in shock for about 3 months. And then we have baby number 2. And so Nathaniel was getting toddler years, and I looked at Todd and I said, we still have this embryo, and he's like, I know, and we've got to figure this out. And of course, here we are living life. And
sorry guys, Jordan documentary's on. It's hard to miss that.
Rochelle can edit this out.
Okay, all right.
Edit that out, Rochelle.
Right. Get back to it.
Okay. And so we decided after Nathaniel was 3, we went ahead and we transferred the embryo, and last November we actually had little baby Joe. And so our family is now complete, and obviously in this God's will, God has something crazy up his sleeve, which would not really surprise me.
Well, it's been a roller coaster for us and babies anyhow, so
yes, and it's very easy on your crazy busy days with all these little kids. It's so easy to take for granted, having children and the miracle. But oh, what a miracle it is.
Yeah.
And oh, what a blessing it is. And that it's all in God's timing, and it's all in God's plan. We'll never know why we went down the route that we did. We'll never understand that. Hopefully one day God can explain it to me. But I know that I feel deep down in my heart that the process of going through our infertility journey was really not about us. It was for other reasons, and I'm not sure what those reasons are. But I really don't feel like it was about us. Never have, which was hard too, because when you're trying to get pregnant, you feel like it's about you. But we're thankful for that. God rescued us not just once, multiple times. Rescued our marriage, rescued our souls, rescued my faith in Him over and over and over again. And babies are just an absolute miracle from God.
Well, He trusted us with 3 children to raise and to show them the right way. And you look back on it, He's got to say, man, you're going to have to be good teachers. I'm going to give you 3 and to show them the way. And like I said, we've talked about it. It's always been about God's timing. It's always been about not ours. And a lot of the times, a lot of things we go through, everyone has something. And for a big part of our marriage, this was it. And once it happened, and you sit back and you're trying to wrangle 3 of them every day, you go, none of this was about us. None of this was about what we wanted. And it's scary some days. You think, my goodness, I just want to do this right. And I feel that we are, and I'm glad that we have the opportunity.
So that's our journey, and we hope that it helps you. And sorry this is so long.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.